Staying positive wasn't easy for me. In the beginning, when I started to first learn about attitude, I was really negative. When I got negative, I would get negative like a champ and really be terrible. I didn't subscribe to the whole think positive perspective. And just having people tell me to be positive was encouragement, but it wasn't enough. It didn't make me understand, and all it did was make me more frustrated. Most of this research started because I wanted to understand more about me. I was a frustrated 20-year-old trying to gain control of my attitude so that I had the ability to perform well in a commissioned sales role. I was struggling to learn a business. I was struggling to learn how to lead. I was struggling to learn how to sell. I was struggling to learn how to manage myself. And all the time that I lost my attitude, it meant that I was also losing my paycheck and my ability to do well. This wasn't okay. I would make the decision that I'm gonna have a better attitude. I would repeat over and over that today was gonna be a good day, and I would try and talk myself into having a better attitude. My actions would maybe be slightly different, but the results didn't change. So I had changed my attitude, but my results still were not showing up. What that made me do was believe that changing my attitude has absolutely no impact over my results. So it reconfirmed for me that this whole attitude thing is just ridiculous. Being in that place made it impossible for me to be able to change anything. And most people make the exact same mistake. It's a huge step forward to even admit that maybe we want to fix our attitudes, or maybe we want to try and influence our attitudes. That alone is a hugely vulnerable place to go. But if our results don't change immediately, and quite often they don't, we start to believe more resolutely that we don't have influence and we don't have control. If we decide to stay there, I struggled with improving my attitude because I was doing it wrong. I didn't know any better at the time, but I was doing it wrong. It's interesting how many of us do go about doing it wrong. There's a different way. So the mistake is to simply start at attitude. And even though that's progress, we have to go somewhere where we have more influence. Your attitude works this way. Underneath the surface, there's all of these things that are in a relationship with each other, and everything kind of works in tandem. As one of them occurs, it makes a contribution to the next one. Our actions, they determine our results. Our results determines our beliefs. Our beliefs determine how our attitude is. Our attitude determines how we feel. How we feel determines our actions. So these are all in a constant cycle. And then there's this magical piece, which is your programming. Is it possible for us to learn something new, which will allow us to have different actions as options that we didn't know before, that will then have a direct influence over our results? Is it possible for us to learn something new that will have our beliefs slightly change? Because this new information with a new perspective makes us understand something brand new. Question your faith simply means, what do you believe about yourself to be true? And where did all those beliefs come from? Are they accurate, or are perhaps some of them inaccurate, which is the case for most of us as adults? Most of us have beliefs about ourselves that we formed from the opinion of an uneducated child, because we were kids when we started to create beliefs. It's important as an adult to use this success practice to get rid of anything that no longer serves you today. I had beliefs in my teenage years and in my 20s that were formed when I was a little kid that had absolutely no substantiated facts behind them whatsoever. Things that took away my confidence. Things like I wasn't a pretty girl. I didn't feel confident. I wasn't one of the cool kids. All of us have stuff like that. We either keep them with us as we grow into adulthood, or we choose as adults to eliminate old beliefs. I call it doing a virus scan. It's like getting rid of any old information. And a lot of the beliefs that we have, when it comes to us sorting through our beliefs as adults, it can be a little bit challenging to even try to know where to begin. If you imagine that your beliefs are like a city skyline, everything you've ever believed in your entire life is a building somewhere in that skyline. Your adult city skyline may look something like this. Most of ours do.
So to start to even try to go into that skyline and identify which neighborhood is good and which neighborhood is not good and which buildings should be abandoned and perhaps knocked down because they have been abandoned, and which ones we should probably renovate or which ones we should spend more time in. Take some time to take a look around.
When I was running my first business, my accountant and I were having a discussion, and my accountant was talking to me about something to do with the numbers, and I said, you know what, I don't want to know too much of the details. I'm not good at math. And he looked at me and he kind of gave me a little bit of a tough time and said, why do you think that? It's not okay for you to not want to know all these numbers. This is your business. So you need to figure out why you think you're not good at math. You need to be the person who does do this. His insistence that I be the one who handles math made me start to question, why do I believe that about myself? Why do I believe that I'm not good at math? It fascinated me that the evidence that I collected to prove this belief was completely inaccurate. As a child, I was taken and skipped through a grade of math in order to go into an accelerated learning program, as many of us are. So we went from grade 7 math to grade 9 enriched math. It was done for completely genuine, authentic reasons to help us out. Unfortunately, in my case, it didn't. I went from being really confident in school to all of a sudden being completely lost. Had no understanding, missed an entire year of mathematical concepts that would have bridged the learning properly so that I could now learn these new challenging ideas in grade 9. Every single time that the teacher talked in that class and I didn't understand, I said to myself, I can't do this. And every single time they asked a question that I didn't know the answer to, I started to believe that I'm not smart enough. And in order for me to survive the building of these two new beliefs, that I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, I had to build another belief beside it that says, and I don't care. So I started to not care about school for the first time in my entire life. I then dropped out of math the second that I got through grade 10, barely passing, and made the decision that anything that I was going to do with my life was going to have nothing to do with science or math because I just sucked at it. I eliminated every single potential career option for myself before I was 15, 16 years old, based upon that experience. Then as an adult, I did believe I can't do math. I'm not smart enough. You would put something in front of me that needed a simple calculation, and immediately my head would kind of seize, and I would have this physical reaction. It was like crazy how much I believed that I was incapable, and how much that really influenced and affected my life. The way that beliefs work, when you were a little child, you started to form beliefs about things that you learned and experienced in your life. And each belief that you found more evidence for, you collected the evidence and you built that building, which is a belief, taller. So you created this little city of all the things that you believed. When you became a teenager, there were some new beliefs that were formed as well.
You can imagine all of the different beliefs that we built about ourselves as teenagers that were absolutely inaccurate.
We start to believe limiting things about ourselves because we were bullied or we were scared in school when we were, in grade 6 because we didn't wear the right things, and kids ostracized us or called us terrible names based upon how our bodies changed, and all of these horrible things. We started to believe those things about ourselves. Another 10-year-old was telling us that we weren't good at something, or that we weren't cool, or that we were unattractive, or any of these things, and we started to believe that these things were real. I got called Miss Piggy when I was a little girl, which I probably shouldn't tell you that on this video because I have a turned up nose. That was devastating to me when I was a kid. We've all survived childhood. We have gotten to the point in our lives, you've gotten to the age of 25 years old and you are not in jail, you are living on your own, and you are still, okay. We deserve to receive an award for that. Growing up is a crazy process. A lot of the things that we believe about ourselves that we started to form when we were children, they're wrong. They're inaccurate beliefs, and sometimes too they were just put there by other people, not for any detrimental reason for the most part, but that's just the reality of the way that it exists. So, as an adult, it's a fantastic practice to question your faith.
We still have a lot of those beliefs living in our skyline. So each one of our cities still has all of the beliefs until we remove them. Beliefs have to be deleted. We've got to actually go back and disagree with them and remove them so that they no longer have any type of influence over what we believe about ourselves to be true. And it's interesting because some of the beliefs, they travel in packs. It's kind of like they travel in blocks. So there's a dominant belief, and then there's a bunch of other little beliefs that are kind of like supporting beliefs that stand up to this one particular belief. For some of us inside of our city skylines, it's like we've got gangs. We've got a whole team of negative beliefs over here that were formed because of this one negative belief that happened to us when we were 10, and we've got a whole bunch of other negative beliefs over here that happened to us because of that relationship breakup when we were 20. And these beliefs stay with us throughout our lives until we learn to remove them. So the way to go about changing beliefs is to do simply this. Ask yourself, what do you believe about yourself to be true? And ask yourself, what would you like to believe about yourself to be true? Or what do you need to believe about yourself to be true? The list of the beliefs that you'd like to eliminate, you can eliminate in one of two ways. One, simply accept the fact, truly, that that belief is inaccurate. Those beliefs are easy to simply hit the delete button on. You no longer believe what the belief is pitching you to believe. Okay. The second way is that if you sort of don't believe it, or you don't want to believe it anymore, or you'd like to be different today than what that belief is holding you back to be, you simply have to build a new belief that disproves the old one. So it is kind of like being in a courtroom and having one side battle against another side. Just you're the one that's recruiting for over here. You're no longer recruiting for over here. So every single time that you do something that proves this new belief, you start to build this belief just like you're building a building. You're building this building with bricks from the old one. Every single time that you find a new piece of evidence, you're taking a brick from the old building and you're putting it into this new building. Every single time that I had to do some type of an equation, no matter how silly it was, if it was 2 + 2, I would verbally say out loud, see, I can do math. And I would put a brick into the foundation stone of this new building that I was building in my skyline. When you have built more evidence that this is the new truth, this belief no longer has enough credibility to stay in your neighborhood. I just never understood when I first started to struggle through changing my attitude that there were all of these other pieces of the puzzle that really had the areas of influence. So, in order to change your attitude, take a look at the places that you have areas of opportunity. Can you do anything different with your actions that is going to do something different with your results? When you get different results, you have the opportunity now to, through your beliefs, change your attitude. Your attitude changes as a result of everything else. Your attitude is not the beginning point. Unfortunately, for most of us, it took us a long time to learn that lesson. Hopefully, it'll save some time for you.